Hi, welcome to your new Peel 3D scanner and everything you need to know to get started. So we'll start with unboxing the scanner. Put your box on the table with the label up and unlatch it, and you will see all the contents inside the anti-static foam case. First thing, of course, is the scanner itself. Top camera, bottom camera, color camera, and the white light projector. The cleaning cloth for the lens, and the USB and combined power cable that goes to the scanner. A universal auto switching power supply. The software on a USB stick, and 2 packs of 500 targets each, and international adapters. Underneath the foam insert is the calibration plate, which you need to treat very carefully. That's where it is. Now we'll install and activate the software. So go to your USB key and choose the installer. Then choose the language you want to install in. You can choose one of 7 and it will install the software. When you've finished, browse to the calibration folder on your USB key and select the calibration file that you'll find in that configuration folder. Do the same again for the license file. Browse to the license folder on your USB key and select that file to activate. You then choose OK, and in theory your scanner is now activated. So you can launch the software. You have to scroll all the way through the terms of service and then agree at the bottom and check do not show me again. And you can start with a new scan. Now's a good time to get an account to receive updates and upgrades. So once you're in the customer center, you have a link to request an access, web access request. Fill out this form, submit it, and within 24 to 48 hours, you will receive a confirmation email of your login name and password, and you can then access the customer center. The next step is to connect your scanner to your computer. So in this order, take the power supply, plug it into the power socket, plug the other end of the power supply into the power pigtail on the USB power cable, plug the USB into any USB socket on your computer, and take the other end with the shiny connector, which has an arrow on it, align the arrow to the top, and insert it into the back of the scanner, and it will flash to show that it's connected. And on your screen, you will see at the bottom of the screen, the scanner has been correctly connected. Take out the calibration plate. Don't touch the targets on its surface. And choose the calibrate icon from the software, and you need to place the white square over the green square and then back away, and that square will grow bigger, and eventually you will have received an automatic calibration, and it will confirm that it was successful. Next, we're going to prepare the part. The scanner can track itself in relation to the object by targets, geometry, or even color. This particular part is quite complex. It's got lots of geometry, so it should track well, but it does have some shiny parts, and the scanner cannot scan very shiny parts. So we can apply a powder spray to the shiny parts, and that will enable us to scan it in the same scan session as the rest of the object. We can also add a couple of targets around the object just to help the tracking. This has enough geometry not to need targets, but we'll put a few because it's good practice to be able to come back and rescan the object if you've missed something. Now we're going to set the scan parameters. You can turn off texture capture because there is no color on this object. And you can set the positioning parameters to targets and geometry, and leave the show positioning status open to see when you are losing track. And then we're going to show you how to manually adjust the shutter if you need to. Automatic usually works most of the time, but you just select manual shutter. And then you point the scanner and hold the trigger, and it will tell you the exposure, the current exposure on the surface. Gray is underexposed, yellow is dead on, and red is overexposed. And you can slide the slider to adjust the shutter speed so that you get the optimal scan process. Set your resolution to 1 or 2 millimeters. You can always reset it afterwards, so it's not fixed in stone. And then you're good to scan your parts. So you click on scan, you hold the yellow trigger, and keeping a reasonable distance, which is about 30 centimeters from the object, you start your scan. On the left is a bar that is green if you're at the right distance, turns yellow or red if you're too close, and turns blue if you're too far. And then you can just start scanning the object. You need to orbit some of the fins and crevices so that the scanner can see into each part. But it is tracking perfectly well on geometry there and the 1 or 2 targets that were put on the object. It can happen that it can lose track, and if it does, it will actually tell you on the screen with the show positioning status box checked. And if you lose track, you can just return to a targeted part or a part you've scanned earlier, and it will reacquire the track and you can continue scanning. This is quite a complex object, but you can see that it works very well and it tracks very well on the object. Now we finalize and save the scan. You just click on the scan button again for it to do its post-processing, which is usually very, very fast, and you can see the end result. You could need to get rid of the artifacts and these things that you didn't want to scan. To remove extraneous surfaces and noise from your scan, choose the Connect function, hold down the Control key and select the main body of the object you scanned and add in any bits that it didn't select. Then inverse the selection, which leaves everything else selected, and choose Delete. And that will remove all the parts that you don't want from your scan. You can also see if you've missed any parts, and you can actually you can click on the scan button and return to scan parts you've missed if you feel the need to do so. After you've done that, other functions to optimize the mesh, decimate it, autofill holes, and remove isolated patches, which you can use. Let's save this as a mesh file first. You can save that in STL format, is a very common format, but there are other formats available. And then we will save the actual session itself, the scan session, under whatever name you want. And thus you have completed your first scan.